Hey guys, Rob, Sigma 3 Survival School, and today I want to show you my favorite rat trap. This is the single best primitive trap that I've come across to effectively get rats, consistently. The problem with the Paiute deadfall and some of the other primitive trigger systems is rats are pretty finicky. A lot of times they'll just come up and literally nibble the bait right off your trigger stick, even if you have a super sensitive Paiute deadfall. I've got a lot of experience with it, and all in all, I think this is a much better trap. So hang tight, I'm going to show you how this thing works. And you can expect to set one of these up in approximately 10 to 15 minutes. So that means you can pump out a whole lot of them. And all you need is a knife and maybe a couple of feet of cord. First step is cut yourself a length of bamboo, 2-3 feet long, whatever. You're going to have an open section on one side and then the closed nodes on the other. And then I'm just going to take a saw and I'm just going to make one little incision all the way across that. And that is where my snare is going to go through. And then I'm going to take my knife and dig out maybe, an inch, 2 inches past that. I'm going to make like a little circle right here. Next step, after I get my bamboo tube completed, and my hole and my slit, made here, then I'm just going to make a little trigger stick. And this is nothing but just a straight stick with a number 7 notch in it right here. And this is essentially going to hook into the top side of this, and your bait will be speared on this. And with any kind of trapping you do, the first thing you always do is look for a location. Obviously you need to have some kind of pack rat or something in the area that you know of. So set this up, where it's conducive for you catching something nice and juicy. So once you find your spring pole, tie your cord to it, and then attach your cord to your trigger, and then we're going to make a small little snare after we stake this to the ground. So just stake your bait tube to the ground, nothing fancy. You can lay rocks over it, you don't necessarily have to do this, just whatever gets the job done, guys. That's what survival's all about. And then we're going to put one back here so that they can't push it back. And like I said, you can set a heavy rock over this to really make sure that it's not going to go anywhere. And Alright, it's as simple as that, guys. You've got just a simple little toggle here. You've got a snare in the front with a little notch for it to slide through. And the reasoning for that notch is so that when the animal comes in here and trips the trigger, that he's pinned up against the wall and choked by the snare. Now, the problem with most primitive triggers is that, if it's on any kind of rope and it's not like a commercial snare, then they can turn around and they can bite through it. But with methods like this, where we physically pin them up against something to where they can't even get to turn to bite the cordage, then it's going to make it a whole lot more effective. Now, there's several different ways that you can set up the bait. You can actually put the bait all the way in the back of the tube, or right behind the actual trigger system, or you can physically spear like a piece of meat or whatever you have to the actual trigger. And either way, the animal's going to have to get past the trigger in order to get to the food. And there's really no way of circumventing or going around like a lot of other primitive trigger systems. Things like Paiutes and some of the other types of deadfall traps out there that are so popular. I've got a lot of experience with those traps, and while they are effective, there are some major downsides to them. Rats are pretty finicky, and they have a tendency to literally just nibble the stuff off your trigger stick. And even on the most sensitive Paiute deadfalls in the world, I've had you know, small little pack rats come up and take my bait. And with this trap, I don't have those worries. I know that it's going to fire every time. I know that in order to get the bait, the rat has to push past the trigger. So all he's got to do in order to set it off is to push this toggle trigger back. And then it's going to pin him up against the wall. And that is very, very stout. I guarantee you, whatever you catch in there is going to be dead in just a matter of no time. So the animal's going to come in the hole. He's going to try to get the bait. He's going to push the trigger, and then it's going to pin him up against the wall and suffocate him. So here's the finished product. All we need is our bent sapling, our bamboo tube, or any kind of hollow tube, a little toggle, a little bit of snare, or any kind of rope, and we've got ourselves an extremely effective rat trap that can be used pretty much anywhere in the world that you can find, you know, hollow objects like this, or you can make hollow objects. There's even ways to rig these types of traps using, or this same trigger system using actual dens that go into the ground, and maybe we'll do another video on that later. I've come up with a whole plethora of different ways that you can use this exact same type of trap. Just because I like it so much and it has so much versatility. You know, all the animal does is come in, hit the trigger, he's pinned, and then you've got your dinner. You know, if you've got an interest in learning these skills, check out our survival standard courses, and if you've got any commentary or questions about this particular trap, make sure you post that up in our survival forum. Thanks for your viewership, and as always, share, like, and subscribe. Sigma 3 out.